Check your pulse if you're not fired up. Welcome on in, everybody. Tobin here with you, and thanks for checking out the channel. I thought I was going to have an off day today, but some breaking news came across the wire this morning, and that is that Mike McDaniel has signed a contract extension with the Miami Dolphins. Jeff Darlington broke the news today at around 10 o'clock, and it says, breaking news, Dolphins coach Mike McDaniel has signed a new contract that extends him through the 2028 season, sources said. Under McDaniel, the Dolphins had the top-ranked offense in the NFL for the first time since 1994. First back-to-back playoff appearances in 23 years. I'm told McDaniel has an especially strong working relationship with Chris Greer, Tom Garfinkel, the CEO, and Cap Guru, Brandon Short. I hope that's like on his business card, Brandon Short, Cap Guru. Like I always thought with Andy Ellisberg and the Heat, it should just say Cap Guru. It's the type of cohesive group that owner Stephen Ross covets. Playoff wins are obviously the final piece of the puzzle, but the organization believes McDaniel is the coach to lead them there. And so, congratulations to McCoachin. Mike McDaniel gets his long-term deal after the only team that interviewed him is backing him. You know, and Mike and Stephen Ross had said this on the preseason broadcast, game 2, you know, about the idea that they took a chance on him. They were the only team to give him a real look in the hiring process. And I think everybody, personality-wise, I think really fell in love with the guy. I think that look, man is long-winded. He says a lot of words, but his vibe, the way that he runs his team, the way that his players respect him, I don't want to go back to the Tua relationship but just even from a skill standpoint, developing Tua as a quarterback, all really, really commendable. You have very, very high-level stars, guys who've accomplished a lot in this league, who have said many a times that he is a big, big reason why they wanted to sign there. And if you could float it over to the team across town with the Miami Heat, one of the things that became evident over, the years with a lot of guys was not necessarily anymore the Pat Riley throwing the rings on the table, but the explanations from Eric Spoelstra and how he was going to use them and utilize them and use them to the best of their abilities. And everybody, there became a time where he was the talk of free agents and guys that would be added to the team and all of that thing, as opposed to the Don the Godfather, who of course still has the aura and the swagger. And there's just a different energy when Pat Riley's in the room. But the respect that players had for Spo was becoming evident. And I do think that you see a lot of that with Mike McDaniel, and that the organization just seems to have a real feel that this is the guy for the job. That relationship thing I think is important, because there were plenty of times where there was a lot of snippiness, there's a lot of backstabbing, there's a lot of, let's fire the GM, not the coach, let's fire the coach, not the GM, let's go with this direction, let's go to the owner directly, let me hire somebody else in the staff, all that type of stuff. The Dolphins do seem to be very, very much on the same page with their team and the organization. And you could actually, feel it this week, right? Where Chris Greer, even with things that fans and media gas bags like myself are hearing and not necessarily loving, but you got to say they're on the same page. There's not one thing from the GM and the coach saying another. Like, they're going to sit there and they're all going to say, hey, we love this offensive line and we think that they're going to surprise people and that they're going to impress people. They're together on that. I mean, and that I think is definitely an important thing when it comes to building a good organization, keeping a continuity that is going to be I think it is important, and it has been missing from the Miami Dolphins. All of that being said, look, they very much know what the minimum task is for them this year, and it's to do something they haven't done in a quarter century, and it's to win a playoff game. I don't think I'm breaking any news to anybody, and I don't think I'm coming in with a hot take. That's a tepid take. The minimum that you should want from these guys with the money they've spent on the talent of this roster, outside of catastrophic things out of their hands happening because it is football, and man, that does happen. But outside of that stuff, with what they think they're going into this year with, yeah, that should be the bare minimum of what they expect. And there's a lot of coaching staffs and in this division itself that know that. I think that they all have a lot of pressure. I think McDermott's dealing with pressure. Saleh's certainly dealing with some pressure because he does not seem like he's got the cohesiveness with his quarterback that Mike McDaniel does. So I think that there is an element that people will look at what happened this season and coming into this year and be like, yeah, I get it. You invested and it's good. There's no drama, but they still haven't done it. And I understand the people who are really skeptical and exhausted because 24 years is a very long time. I mean, don't let anybody tell you that you haven't been patient because that's complete horse bleep. That being said, I really do think Mike McDaniel is a good coach. I think that we've seen, you look to the previous case here with Brian Flores, that relationships are important, right? D-Wade tweeted that out one time. Relationships are important, people. Mike McDaniel just has a way about him with people, and I think that for a guy who does have things in his offensive bag when it comes to scheming, with what he's drawn up in offenses, with what his team is talking about as the next steps they take every year and how much they value that continuity, which is why I think he does believe in the Liam Eichenbergs, the Austin Jacksons of the world, maybe more so than the pundits do. I think that continuity, they really, truly do value that and hope that this is going to lead to something. Look, rich guys, if things go really awry, they can change decisions. I mean, Stephen Ross has, uber wealth. If the Miami Dolphins poop the bed royally this year, don't think the guy wouldn't do something drastic. Like, you can never account for what they're going to do, right? Look at what the Broncos just did with Russell Wilson. That's Walmart money. They just said, hey, see ya. We'll move on to something else. So don't necessarily think like, hey, this is an absolute safety net. But I think in a way, like for the people who wanted to be shown it, hey, prove it to me. One, I guess you keep that in mind. Like, don't underestimate, bad results and rich people making impulsive decisions. And two, what I would say is I think, honestly, this is a 99% positive thing because, yeah, the organization does feel like in a lot of ways it has its bleep together. And that they do have a vision and they do have an identity. They have some things that they have to tighten up and better with that identity. And they have to improve off that identity, but we get it. Like motion, speed, star power, flash. Can they rack up the amount of wins where they put things in their elements for the postseason? Those are going to be the important things. But you're going to have a fan base with Mike McDaniel and with Tua and with Tyreek Hill and Jalen Waddle and all those guys getting their bags. Little bumps to Mostert. You're going to have a fan base that's like, hey, all right, cool. We've all backed you. We've all had the fun, but we want to see the results. And I think this is going to be a year where things have been, things are going to be on edge and they're going to expect, results immediately. But all that being said, I truly do think, like the way this guy carries himself, he's different. I like a lot of it. I like his demeanor. Could he use less words at a press conference to help people out? Yes. But his message in the, as the great Kim Bokamper says, the acorns, after you scrounge through the bushes to find them, I do like what the acorns bring from Mike McDaniel. I do like how his players really, really will go to bat for him. I do like how he can sway star players to come play here. And I think all of that thing, to have that kind of cachet is important. He is a modern-day coach. Modern-day coach who does, yes, need big results. And, there are levers to pull for the Dolphins if things, look like Mike Daniel is in over his head at certain spots. But ultimately, I think the good thing is they've picked their direction. They believe in it. And you just hope that, hey, I think the hope right now for the Dolphin fan is not only is it great to see everybody get their money, but that the Dolphins got bargains because they're going to exceed those contractual expectations, and that the Miami Dolphins locked up Mike McDaniel before he became a big-time winning coach, not just by regular season record, but by playoff wins. So this is certainly an exciting one, I think, to see that he is tied up right line in lockstep with Tua's contract, because that coaching quarterback duo is going to be tied to the hip, and now they know what the task at hand is. They know what they've all gotten their big fat bags. They've all, dazzled everybody with big points, lots of speed, and big plays. Now it's time for the big wins. Now they got the big cash.